Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to thank you for joining our Recruit webinar today. We just still have some folks dialing in, so we'll go ahead and give everyone just a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll be sure to get started. We are just a few minutes past, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is Carol Kennedy. I am an account manager with ApplicantStack, and on the line we have my coworkers, Ellen and Brandon. They are also account managers with ApplicantStack. Our goal today is to give everyone a high-level overview, start to finish, of our Recruit applicant tracking system. After we have reviewed the system, we'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. So we'll ask everyone to submit their questions via the questions panel, and we will do our best to answer those for you. And with that, I'll go ahead and hop into my demo account. And I've got everyone started out on our homepage. So we just want to cover a few things here. This will provide you a high-level overview of what's happening in your system, as well as some additional pieces of information that will be helpful for you. We do have our announcement section in the upper left. So just wanted to mention we have an Ask Me Anything session coming up on May 25th. So we do encourage you to register for that. And we will have our webinars announced here as well for upcoming webinars. Anytime we have a new product release or enhancement, that will be announced here as well. Over on the right, we do have some tasks and events, so we will cover that in just a bit. But if you have, for example, a task to phone screen a candidate, maybe you have an upcoming interview, that will be announced for your users so they can see that they have that upcoming. We have our pipeline summary that is going to give you an overall snapshot of what's happening with your jobs. You can see how many candidates are in that job in each stage of your process. Those stages are customizable in your setup. We do have a quick shortcut for you. If you click on, for example, that hyperlink number there, that will bring you into the 5 new candidates for that job. Rather than having to hop over to your candidate tab, we have a shortcut for you from that table. Up at the top, a few things to mention. We do have a quick search for your candidates, so you can go ahead and type in a name and easily find them. If you are using our onboard product, you can toggle over using the toggle here. If you're using our texting services, either basic or premium, we do have the notification here to let you know that you have a text message that is there for your review. One last thing to mention here, you can always open your job board from your home page, and that will show you what is posted there and what your candidates are seeing on your site. Okay, so that is, again, your home page. That is an overall snapshot. Let's go ahead and move over to our jobs table. So this will show you the jobs that you are working and various information about those jobs. For example, where is that job posted? Has that been sponsored on Indeed? When was that job created? And various fields. These are also customizable to track various information about your jobs. So we'll go ahead and review the job creation process, since that will be pretty important to you. Let's go ahead. We can create a new job. You'll be prompted to either start with a blank form or from a template. For today, we'll start from blank, and we'll go ahead and submit that. We'll be prompted to complete the following initial information. You can change this around based on your needs, but just as an example, you'll be prompted for job ID that will automatically populate, or you can type in your own naming convention. You'll type in a job title, select the department, maybe where is that job located? Is that a full-time or a part-time job? Just to give you some ideas. You'll populate that information. You'll enter your job description here, and you'll be able to format that. You will assign your job owner, that's typically your HR or recruiter user, and your hiring managers in order to give them access to that job. Your hiring manager will need to be assigned in order to see the candidates and job information. At the bottom, we'll touch on the workflow in just a bit, but you'll want to select the workflow for that job to go through. The workflow is going to trigger emails at stage changes or notifications and so forth, so you'll simply select that information. When that is done, let's come back into our accounting manager job. You'll just want to follow these tabs across to finish setting that up. So for example, the summary tab is what we had just entered. Over on the listing tab, you will see that job description. You can edit it from here. You can preview to see if everything looks okay. That will give you an idea of what your candidates will see. You'll see we have an option for your candidates to apply now. They can refer to a friend. If they have an Indeed profile and you have that turned on in your system, they can apply with their Indeed profile. Coming over to questions, you can attach any position-specific questions, any general questions that you would like to have those candidates answer. So for example, I have an application for employment that has been attached in my system settings, so every candidate will be prompted to complete that information. For our accounting manager job, maybe we have some questions specific to that position. Via new questionnaire or add from library, you can attach those questions for them to answer. So maybe a degree is required or a certain level of experience. Via edit attachments, we have up to 5 fields for you to prompt the candidate to attach information, maybe a certification, maybe a writing sample, something of that sort. They will have a field, they can upload that information. And again, we have that preview button that will allow you to see what your candidate will see, make sure all of your questions have attached correctly. Anything with an asterisk will be required. The resume and cover letter can be required or optional. Okay, coming back into our system, we'll move right on over to scoring. Based on those questions, you can create scoring. And for example, if a degree is required and the candidate says no, they do not have one, that can be a KO or a knockout. Maybe we want to assign point values based on their answers, increasing levels of experience, and so forth. You can also score based off of phrases in the resume that you are looking for. And we'll see what that looks like once we get to our candidate tab. That information will appear for you. Coming over to launch, this is where you will post your job. We have quite a few options for you. If you are using our premium texting services, we have an option for candidates to text to your account number. They will get a link. They can apply to that job. We have your public job board that will be tied to your website and will allow candidates to find jobs and apply there. We do have an internal job board if you wanted to push jobs out to your current employees, maybe to give them a head start to apply. You can use that, maybe put that on a company intranet or send that out via email. We do have an integration with Indeed sponsored jobs. You would need to post your job organically first, but then you would be able to sponsor your job if you wish through the system. Okay, coming down to our third-party job boards, some of these are an additional cost. Some are free of charge to post to. Google for Jobs, Indeed, Organic, LinkedIn, limited postings. Should be free to post to. Indeed would have to approve your account to do that first. And then we have the additional paid options. So Job Target has over 25,000, I believe, job sites for you to post to. It will be very transparent how much that will cost. There is a delivery fee regardless, but feel free to post there. Career Builder, Dice, Monster, and ZipRecruiter would require a separate subscription and paid inventory in order to post there. Our social media sites, Twitter and LinkedIn, can be posted to. And we have the manual posting links. So if there's not a site listed above, if it's not available above, you can go ahead and create that in your setup. Perhaps you're posting to a local school. You can go ahead and include one of these first two links here in your posting. That will drive candidates back into ApplicantStack and track the source that they came from for you. Okay, so once you have launched your job, hopefully you will have some candidates coming into the system. Let's go ahead and hop on over to our candidate tab. And the first thing I'll do here is expand all of these filters so we have some more candidates to work with. These filters allow you to filter out, maybe you just want to see candidates in a particular job. I could select that, or perhaps in a certain rating category. It's up to you how you want to filter that out. Same idea as the jobs. This table is customizable, but right now we can see our candidates. Is there a resume attached? Is there a phone number that is affiliated with a cell phone for texting purposes? Maybe we have some information that we are tracking. Are they available to work weekends, as an example? When was that candidate created? When were they last modified? Here is that scoring information that we referenced. So we can see here we have a KO. That means knockout. That means that candidate answered a question that took them out of consideration. And then if I reverse sort, we should see our scores open up. Let me back my view off just a little bit so we can see those a little bit better. So any candidate with a higher score might be a better fit for you than a candidate with a lower score. Maybe you want to start your review process with those candidates first. We will go ahead and hop on into a candidate profile and just walk you through what's available there. Similar to the jobs process, you want to follow these tabs across. We have a summary of the information, where that candidate found out about you and applied, their contact information, and so forth. We have the resume here, or it's available in the resume preview. We'll see that in just a second. We have an offer letter that's been attached. We can see the cover letter, how that candidate answered any of those application questions. And we do have a duplicate candidate. That means that candidate has applied for another job in the system. Coming over to resume preview, that is going to open up the resume in the same window for you. You can use the arrow keys here to move back and forth. You can review different candidates without having to come back to that main page. Answers tab will be any answers that the candidate provided. So we can see in this case how we answered those accounting manager questions. Feedback would be more for feedback provided by your team. We can simply add feedback and give them a rating here, or we can submit a questionnaire. So maybe we have an interview evaluation form that needs to be completed. Your team can come in, complete that, submit that, and that will be tracked with the candidate record. So you can always refer back to that information. So we have a phone screen form, interview evaluation form. If you ever have a question why you hired one candidate over another, we can come back in here. Okay, we have a history for your candidate, so you can see when things were changed, when tasks were assigned, when emails were sent out to that candidate, responded to, for example. We can go ahead, if we just want to see those emails, we can filter those out. I will come back to our candidate tab, and I want to walk through this menu here on the right. You do have the option to upload candidates into the system. So let's say you found them during a search, or perhaps somebody emailed you a referral. We've got a few different options for you to upload them into the system. Once they are in the system, you can go ahead and move them to another job. Perhaps if they're a fit for another role, you can use add a job or set job. Add a job will create a profile for them in both jobs. Set job will simply move them over. We talked about the quick search. We do have a more in-depth search. So when you have a new opening, you may want to search your database. Maybe you've got a candidate who applied 6 months ago. They might be a fit now. You can send them a quick email blast. Are you still interested? We have this opening. So you can search by name within so many miles of a zip code. We can search by different information. So for example, in my account, I do have a question. Maybe you need somebody who's bilingual. You could search how they answered that question. Or maybe we just want to see those candidates in a particular rating. So lots of different ways for you to customize this for what you are looking for. More than likely, you would want to use the keywords. You can search the resume and the cover letter for those keywords. So for an accounting manager, I might want to look for accounting. Would be a good start. So that would give you that option. You can save search criteria for the future if you think you might use them again. Okay, so I will come back to my candidate tab. I can communicate with my candidates. I can go ahead and email or text them. We'll use email as an example. We have options for you to select a template, or you can type directly into this box. You can send immediately, or you can delay that communication. You can attach information. So maybe you have a benefit summary or something of that nature for review. You can go ahead and include a questionnaire as well. So maybe your application for employment, you don't send it out immediately, but you do send it out if you are interested in that candidate. That's an option as well. They'll have a link, they can complete that information. Okay, tasks and events are very similar. A task would be a general reminder, perhaps phone screen a candidate. Event is more date and time bound, so that would be more appropriate for, let's say, an interview. So we'll walk you through how to create that. You will assign that to your team that needs to be involved. They will need to be a user in the system for that to be available. You'll give that event a name, a description, maybe put in some internal notes. Maybe you picked up on something during the phone screen that you want your team to delve into a little bit further. You could put that in as an internal note. You'll select your event location. You can select a time or invite your candidate to select a time. Invite candidate takes a few steps to set up, so we will pass over that for today, but just be aware that is available. If you are using our calendar integration, you can go ahead and see your team's availability from within the system. So I can see that we are unavailable at this date and time, but that will sync that up for you. You'll go ahead and select an event start time, end time. We'll go ahead and include an invite to our candidates so they'll get a copy of the email invitation. And we can go ahead and assign an interview feedback form to our team, send an email reminder every so few days until that is completed. That will just give them a reminder. They will receive an email with that information, and they can add it to their calendar from that email. And that will also create that reminder on the homepage that we saw that they have that event upcoming, and that will remain there until it's been completed. Okay, a couple more quick things to mention here. We can add a quick note. So if we want to take a note on that candidate, we can make it private, so hiring managers will not see it, or we can make it global. So if they do have duplicate applications, that will show across all of them. If you wanted to change the information in this table here, maybe we have a hire date for this individual established now, you can go ahead and set that information. You'll select the hire date and submit. Okay, so set fields is how you will change this information in this table. I believe you can also click on that information itself, and that will be an option as well for you. Okay, your stages are pretty important. This is where we are tracking where your candidate is in the process and where workflow items are triggered. So for example, we have some candidates in new, phone screen, hired. Let's go ahead and set our stage. I'll set this candidate to phone screen. And this is where the workflow is kicking in. So we can see we'll be prompted to give them a rating. We can add a note. There is an email that is set to trigger at this stage change. If you are using our premium texting, you can trigger text messages at stage changes as well. We have notifications that can go out to users and so forth. So you would simply confirm those stage changes and those items will happen. Okay, and then that will simply allow you to see how you're progressing in recruiting for that position. With that, let's go ahead and hop a little bit into our system setup. I am over on our library. The library allows you to create various information that you'll use time and time again. We do encourage you to use this as it will save you some time. So for example, we can create a job template, give that a name, populate this information for that job, enter your job description. So if you think you might be recruiting for that position again in the future, when you create that job, you can simply pull up that template. You're not having to continuously copy paste into the system. It will be ready for you to go. Questionnaires could be questions for you, for your candidate. It could be even for a third party. So for example, maybe you are checking references. You could create a reference check form and trigger that to go out automatically to the reference. We have our standard application for employment available for you to use. So that should be in your library. We've got 2 sample interview evaluation forms, or you can create your own via new questionnaire. Maybe if you are conducting phone screens, you want to jot some questions down so you don't forget to ask them. That will give you that template to work off of. You won't forget to ask a question during that process. Okay, so any questionnaires can be created from scratch. You can clone them, make a copy. You can simply edit one if you need to. Coming down to messages, if you have standard email communications that you are sending out or text messages, you can create those here. You'll simply create the template. Again, you can go ahead and simply edit those if you'd like. You will see your email message here or a text message. And let's talk about these merge codes. This will populate information for you. So in this case, the candidate first name will automatically populate. You're not having to type that in every time. If you come down, here are the available fields. Maybe you want to say thank you for applying for this job. You could pull in the job title and so forth. Okay, back to our library. We'll go ahead and come down to events. So if you have different scenarios, maybe an interview for your Durham office looks a little bit different from a different office that you have. Maybe in one situation you want to instruct candidates, please pick up the phone in the lobby and call so-and-so. You can create different templates for that, for each type of interview. And then let's talk about our documents. So the best use case I can think of documents for would be offer letters. We'll go ahead and come into our offer letter. You can upload a logo and customize that message. Let's go ahead and edit this template. So you will create merge fields. These will be fields that you will complete later in your process. So we need to put into the letter how many vacation days, when is the start date. We'll go ahead and craft our message over here. Of course, yours will be more built out than this one here. But you will come back in later and trigger that document function. You'll populate these fields here that need to be populated by you, and that will send to your candidate for an electronic signature. Okay, so if you have any questions about those documents functions, please let us know. Our tech support team is always available to help as well. I didn't mention that earlier, but via the question mark here in the upper right, you can come to our help center. You can do a search for information, so you could search for documents here if you need some further instructions. With that, that should help you. If you're still stuck, ask a question. We'll get you to our technical support team, and they'll be able to help you with that. Okay, just a few more areas to touch on. Our reports functionality will allow you to run various reports. Same as our library, you can always create your own, you can edit these, you can clone them, you can export them out of the system once they have been run. I'll go ahead and go into just a couple so you can get an idea of our reports functionality. I do need to back my dates up a little bit. We'll go ahead and run that report. So the source performance report will show us, and let me zoom in just a little bit, where our candidates are coming from Monster, from Indeed, and of your hired candidates, what source did those candidates come from? So that's really going to show you which sources are working for you, bringing you quality candidates. Coming down, I do want to show time and stage for hired candidates. Let's go ahead and back that date back up again. We'll go ahead and run that. And this is going to show us where our bottlenecks are in the process. So keep in mind, this is a demo account. There's not too much activity going on, but we can see this candidate spent some time in the reference check stage. Maybe we need to look at that. We have this candidate spent quite a bit of time in the new stage. So that should clue you in as to where the bottlenecks are in the process. Maybe you could work on that a little bit. Okay, so we have a variety of reports available for you to use. Feel free to explore these, click around, see what information is included. You can always, I would suggest making a clone first if you want to make changes, and then you still have that original to go back to if you want to play around a little bit with those reports. Okay, the last item I do want to address is our setup. Your administrator user should have access to the setup of your system. Just a few things to mention here. We don't want to go too much into detail, but just so you are aware, these items are out here. You can modify your public job board. So we mentioned the resume and the cover letter could be required or optional. This is where I am designating that. We can show or hide EEOC questions. We can have an applicant login. If you want candidates to have a username and password, they can apply to multiple jobs without having to re-enter their information in consistently. We have a general job for general recruitment that you could turn on. I have the application for employment attached, so that will automatically attach to every job. We can upload our logo to the top of our job board, or if you have a custom job board skin, you would see that information here. And you can customize the messages on your job board. So your opening page instructions, maybe you want to change this from what it currently is, you can simply come in and change that information. Just be sure to save that. Okay, and the last area I do want to touch on is our configuration. We have a number of ways for you to customize the system. So we mentioned when you are creating your job, perhaps you're being prompted for certain information. Is that a full-time or a part-time job? Different job categories, perhaps. You can change those around. Let's talk about application stages. So unfortunately, sometimes candidates don't show up for interviews. Maybe you don't currently have that as a stage available. You could simply create that stage, and then that will become available for you to put candidates into. You can reorder those stages as well. That will allow you to simply click and drag and move those around. Okay, our workflow is available here. So that is where we are modifying what emails are sent out at stage changes, who is getting a notification of that stage change, and so forth. So feel free to click around that. And the last area, application fields. Maybe I want to modify these sources that are available for the manual posting links. I can come in and modify those. Maybe I want to modify the ratings that are available. So lots of different ways to customize the system to really meet your needs. Okay, so that is start to finish, again, high-level overview. We didn't touch on absolutely everything in the system, but we want to make sure you've got a good foundation. With that, we'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions, and I believe my colleague Ellen is going to be helping with those today.
And I'm here, Carol.
Yeah, thanks, Ellen.
And Carol, that was excellent. That was a really good overview of ApplicantStack Recruit. So I thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Ellen.
Yeah. Brandon is also here as well. So we're all going to field questions, but there are a number, Carol, that have already been submitted. So let's go ahead and get started, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, the first one is, could you kindly review reporting? I would like to know how to run a report of those that were under self-withdrawn or other categories. So some of these questions you did touch upon already, but if you just want to do a quick overview once again of the reports tab, that would be great.
Okay, so for that, I would recommend when you say self-withdrawn, I'm assuming that is a status or a stage. So I might click around until I find a report that shows that information off the top of my head. I'm not sure which one that might be. And my account, I need to go back quite a bit to find that, to play with that. But you can always create your own custom reports. Well, here we go. This one has stage information, but maybe we want to build off of this one. But we could go ahead and create a report, give that a name, select your data set. So that sounds like candidate information. And then you'll simply need to find that information in the system. So candidate stage name, I think, is what we're looking at. So you can really build out your own custom reports. You could set filters if you want to be able to filter on maybe hires in the past year, as an example. So you may want to poke around, maybe find a report that you could build off of or modify. And if not, you can create a custom report, select that information, and pull that over. And if you're having trouble with that, our tech support team is best able to help. I would just contact them, put in a ticket, say this is the information, be as specific as you can with what fields need to be pulled over, and they'll be happy to help you with that.
Excellent. All right, next question is, could you also review how to set up template emails and include attachments?
Okay, so template emails would be under our library, under messages. You'll simply create a template, or I will go ahead and modify one. Okay, so we can see we have an attachment section. You can choose a file. You'll customize your message here. Insert your merge codes if appropriate, and then when you are ready to send that, you will simply come over to your candidate tab. You'll select the candidate you want that to go to, and you will email your candidate, and you will select that template. Okay, and we do have that attachments available here as well for you to attach information.
All righty, excellent. Next question, Carol, is will ApplicantStack post to state job boards?
Okay, that is a common question. So let's go ahead and hop back to our jobs. Let's go back to our launch tab. So a couple options I can think through would be Job Target might have a state job board. So when you go to post there, it's going to look at your job description and make recommendations on where to post that. That may be an option through Job Target. If not, I would go back to these manual posting links and create a source for that job board and use the manual posting links to post to a state job board.
And Carol, I'm jumping in a little bit prematurely. The next question is, and it's a good transition right here, can you include Handshake for the additional links to the ad to be posted? So that would be, yeah, via manual posting links as well.
Yeah, thank you, yes. And that job board will have to accept URLs. There are some that do not accept those in their postings. So it's also going to depend on will Handshake accept that.
Great. Next question, Carol, is, can you merge candidates with duplicates to one profile?
Okay, yep. Unfortunately, our system does not merge profiles together. A couple of thoughts on that. If your candidate has a duplicate profile in the system, you would see up here towards the top, there would be a little red notification to let you know that that candidate's in another job as well. You could add a note. So make that note global so you can see that across applications. So maybe we want to put a note, do not consider this candidate for any role. We could go ahead and handle that way. But there's not a way for the system to merge them per se.
Next question, Carol, is, can you share a link within the text function? For example, a booking link to schedule an interview time.
That is a good question. I am not sure how that would come across on a cell phone, to be perfectly honest. Let's go ahead.
I can help with that.
Yeah, excuse me, Carol. Brandon might be able to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
So the different features of Recruit, like tasks, events, we cannot send text messages directly from those things. So if you have an event and you want to send an event reminder, we can't configure that reminder to be sent via text, only email. With questionnaires, we can attach questionnaires, as Carol's showing right now. In the text pop-up here, there's an option down at the bottom that says include questionnaire. And so you would just type your message and then click include questionnaire, and you select which questionnaire you want to include. And the text message will be formatted such that there's a shortened URL showing on the other end for the candidate to tap on and complete that questionnaire. If you're using a third-party booking system like Calendly, you can copy that booking link and paste it in a text message template. And so in that way, you can use a third-party booking link for scheduling. Does that help?
That question is from Sabrina. So as we continue through, Sabrina, if you need more clarification, will you please submit another question? All right, next question is this a recording we will have access to refer back to as needed? Katie, absolutely. All participants will get a link to the recording of this webinar. Next question, Carol, is how do you dispose candidates and make them inactive at various stages?
Okay, I'm thinking through this question.
Yeah.
So as far as disposing, I wonder if they mean disposition.
I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah, so you would go ahead and select your candidate. You would go ahead and set the stage to an appropriate stage. In your setup will determine which of these stages are quote unquote inactive and which ones are active. So if you put them into a stage designated as inactive, could be do not pursue, would make sense. That will go ahead and put them into an inactive stage versus an active stage in your system. And depending on how your filters are, it would come to the active or inactive status.
And then there are disposition options that you can create and choose from as you move candidates from stages from stage to stage as well.
Correct. And then we have a disposition column as well. So we would simply set the disposition here.
Mm-hmm. All right, this is from Katie. If you choose schedule type for events for the candidate to choose the time, are they also able to see available and unavailable times of your calendar?
Correct. So a couple of different things need to happen. For your user setup, you would first need to come in and designate at the very bottom here when that user is available. So between 8 and 5, am I available on the weekends? So that will need to be set up, and you will also need to integrate your calendar, Office 365 or Gmail. That will need to be set up, and then your candidate, when they get that email, they will see only available times. So they'll see 8:30, 9, 9:30, 11, whatever the options are that are truly available.
Thank you, Carol. Here's the next question. How do we set up the system to trigger the system to send the employment application when we move to phone screen stage?
Okay. So you will need to set up a message, an email template for please complete application, however you want to name that. You will attach the employment application to that template as a questionnaire via the merge codes. And then you will need to come into your workflow. And if you want that to go out automatically at a stage change, you will simply select the stage you want that to go out, and you will go ahead and attach that email to that stage. Okay, so it's a couple-step process. You'll have to get that email ready with the link to the application in it, and then you will need to set that email to trigger in your workflow for that to work.
All right, Carol, the next question. Would you demo how to search candidates within a zip code area of work location? So you might have already covered this during the general demo, but maybe quickly again, if you could, please.
Sure. So coming back to our candidate and coming into our search, we can go ahead and search within so many miles of a zip code. So if your office is located in that zip code, we need somebody within 30 miles of that location, you would simply put those criteria in there, and that should return just those candidates.
Great. Next question, when we have quite a few questions still yet to answer, so this is wonderful. The next question, Carol, is what is the difference between job workflow and application workflow?
Okay, so the application workflow, we've seen that just a couple of times. So this is more relevant to when I change the stage for my candidate will get an email, the notification for the job owner or the hiring manager in the system. So that is more relevant to that process. Let's go into our job workflow. So this is more relevant to the job itself. So our job is going to go through a draft stage, an open stage, a fill stage, a cancel stage. So more relevant to the job, what happens when that job is modified.
Yep, perfect. The next question is regarding a delay in a response from tech support. So that's specific. Melanie, know that we're going to check into that for you. Let me just make a note of this right now so we get back to you on that. And let's go to the next question then. Carol, next question. Is it possible to correct information after a candidate submits an application? A candidate of mine misspelled her first name and will always be hard to find in the system. Elizabeth, on that. Yep.
Yeah, so you can come into your candidate profile and you should be able to simply edit that information. So if I come down to edit, you'll be able to modify that name, or maybe that candidate has moved. You can go ahead and change their address in the system, for example. If you have the candidate login functionality turned on, your candidate, if you have it set up to make changes, your candidate can go back and make certain modifications as well. But for now, you can simply come in and modify that candidate record via that edit functionality.
All right. The next couple questions are from Sabrina, and it is concerning using links in message templates. Sabrina, will you share with us in another question what account you're from? And we'll do some follow-up with you on a one-on-one basis. All right, Carol, next question. Hello, can you please let us know about any new features other than premium texting?
I would say well, a couple options. So let's go ahead, let's go back to our homepage. We do have, for recent product updates, click here. That is going to give you a good overview. Other than premium texting, the big one that we had recently was that Indeed sponsored integration that we touched upon when we launched our job. There is an interface here now. So once your job has been posted for up to 8 hours, it will appear, sorry, after 8 hours, it should appear for for sponsored postings once it's been posted organically. And then once you go to post that, you'll be prompted to provide login information. It will give you budgetary projections. So for this budget, we project that you will have so many candidates if you sponsor your job on Indeed. So that was the other big one. But I would always refer you back to the home page, and for recent updates, click here.
All right, the next question is great info in this webinar. Thank you very much, Iris. We appreciate that feedback. And here is Iris's question. She's recently begun to use ApplicantStack. She wants to know how to delete the sample job postings from the job board.
Sure. So we have a couple that are included with everyone's account. I believe it's employment applications and county manager. You would need to first delete the candidates affiliated with those jobs. It will not let you delete the job unless those candidates are no longer tied to it. And then you could simply come in here and the little trash can, you can delete that. We typically don't recommend deleting anything out of the system, but in the case of those sample jobs, that should be fine. They're just example jobs and candidates. So beyond that, I wouldn't recommend deleting anything, but in that case, you can use the trash can.
One of the beauties of ApplicantStack is that there is an audit trail that's created. But as Carol said, I wouldn't suggest deleting anything other than the example maybe that she just shared.
Yeah, you could also, another strategy, edit launch status and just remove that from your public job board. Let's edit. We can just simply check that off if you wanted to keep that job for some reason. But so either way would work.
Excellent. Next question is, do Boolean terms work in the keyword search for candidates?
Okay, I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ellen and Brandon, but we should be able to use the Boolean. So if we're looking for county manager, I might use and caps, and that should capture both of those terms. So I believe, feel free to give that a try, but I believe it should work.
Yes, we do support Boolean searches. Scroll up a bit on this screen, Carol, if you would. Isn't there a link to Boolean searches? I thought somewhere on this screen. There you go. See it up top?
There you go, and we can click on that. Here we go, and it's a link to a support article.
All right, Sabrina, thank you. We know what account you're with now. Brandon's your account manager. He'll be in touch with you. Next question, Carol, can you please repeat that searching candidates by territory? So I think this relates back to searching candidates using a zip code.
Sure. So I would go ahead and use my keywords here that will search the resume and the cover letter. And then where do we need that candidate to be located? So I type in your zip code here within so many miles of that zip code, and that will return those candidates. So really that zip code, if you're in Canada, postal code, I believe, but you'll go ahead and search for the criteria that you need, and then be sure to include that zip code functionality.
And stay right on that screen if you would, please, Carol. Next question, is it possible to search a candidate via their email address?
Yep, correct. Email right here. So you would simply copy paste, populate that. And thank you for catching me, Ellen, before I navigated away. But yes, email is an option.
Oh, just into a bit of efficiency. Next question is, what is the difference between basic and premium texting?
Okay, the difference is there is a pricing difference. Feel free to contact your account manager for that information, but premium texting includes everything that basic texting does, in addition to that text to apply functionality. So on that launch tab, you would create a code word. You would have some printed media to apply. Please text that code word to this number. That is going to get your candidate a link back on their phone, and they can apply right then and there. So that is the first difference. The second difference is you can trigger those text messages in your workflow. So if I come back to that application workflow and I come in, if it is set up, I need to find an appropriate stage. Here we go. So at the interview stage, I have a text message set to trigger. I'd like to bring you in for an interview to further discuss your qualifications. Please respond with your availability. So that's going to automatically trigger that text message. So those are the two differences. It will go ahead and allow them to apply, text to apply, and trigger them in the workflow.
Mm-hmm. I kind of think of text to apply as being a bit of a proactive means of recruiting. Next question. Oh, you got a thank you on that explanation, Carol.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, next question. Can disposition code be linked to active or inactive candidate status?
Okay, I think I'm in a little bit different spot, but for this refers back to the previous question. Your candidate stages can be marked inactive or active. So hired, do not pursue, and withdrawn are currently inactive stages in our system. Let's find that disposition. I think that's under application fields, disposition. Let's take a peek there. So it looks like these are available. I don't see that they are able to be marked active or inactive. So you would have to change that with the candidate stage, I believe.
All right.
Was that question?
That was the last question that I see submitted thus far. Wait, nope,
Nope.
Here's another. Does premium texting allow you to text all leads?
So yes and no. You can send mass text messages, but I believe at a certain point it's going to max out. So you can text multiple candidates via that text message, but you may run into a situation where there's only 100 candidates per screen, or I believe I've seen where it has not functioned past a certain amount. So I might encourage you to contact our tech support team if you have a question about volume, but yes, you can mass text out of our system to an extent.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And I would add to Elizabeth, if you could put in your franchise number, I could contact you about that question and get into a little bit more detail with you.
Okay, and we are getting into some specific questions from Home Instead. So, Brandon, I think you'll be following up with both Elizabeth and
And
Sabrina.
yes.
Yep. All right. Okay. I'm staring at my screen to see if magically any other questions are going to come up. I don't see any as of yet. And we are right about at the top of the hour. So this has been a really lively question and answer session. It's been great. All right, Carol, I'm going to turn it back over to you for closing comments.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for your help today and for attending. Again, we have just a quick reminder. We have that Ask Me Anything webinar coming up that we would encourage you to register for. We will have some upcoming sessions as well, similar to today. Those will be announced in our announcement section as well. But for now, thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Take
Thanks.
care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.